My name is Amara. I'm 38 years old, and I've lived my whole life in captivity. Not in a prison with bars. My chains were invisible, made of fear. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of being alone. My mother, Rose, never gave me real love. Instead, she offered criticism wrapped in a smile. Humiliation disguised as care. And always the same refrain. At your age, you should be grateful for what you have. At 38, I met David, a man who seemed to be the answer to all my prayers. How wrong I was. My mother destroyed my life so publicly that I still wake up in a cold sweat. I waited so long for love, and I waited in vain. But you know what's the scariest part? I blame myself. Why didn't I trust that quiet voice inside that whispered, "Run"? And more importantly, why did I let anyone treat me that way? But let's start from the beginning. This story began 5 months ago. A business conference. I was running late. My mother had asked me at the last moment to drive her to the hairdresser. Darling, at my age, one can't afford to relax. I rushed into the hall, caught my heel on the step, and stumbled forward. Strong arms caught me. I froze, breathing in the unfamiliar scent of woody cologne. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. "Hey, are you okay?" The voice was low, velvety. "I've got you." I looked up. Dark eyes, almost black, with sparks of kind laughter dancing in them, a smile that made my chest tighten. Thank you." My cheeks burned. "Sorry." Falling into my arms? He chuckled, helping me up. Most women come up with more creative ways to meet me. He picked up my bag and handed it to me. David Mensah. Amara. I shook his warm, firm hand. Amara Osi. Beautiful name. He didn't let go, looking into my eyes. "You here for the investment presentation?" "Yes, I work at..." I hesitated. I always do. My mother's voice in my head. "Don't show off, Amara. People don't like know-it-alls." He waited, genuinely interested. "At my uncle's company. Joseph Enterprises. I work in project analytics." Something flickered in his eyes, quick, like a flash. Interest? Or was I imagining it? "Joseph Enterprises?" He whistled softly. "Impressive. Your uncle? Joseph Osi? One of the biggest developers?" There was admiration in his tone. Genuine. Or so I wanted to believe. "Yes, he gave me a chance after university." "Your uncle's a smart man," David interrupted gently. "Only smart people give chances to talented ones. And you, I'm sure, are very talented." I looked at him, not believing it. Compliments. Real ones, without hidden barbs. "You don't know me." Intuition. His smile was warm, thawing something deep inside. "And we can fix that." After the conference, "Coffee?" My heart thundered. "All right." My voice sounded surprisingly steady. "Coffee." Coffee turned into dinner that lasted until midnight. We couldn't stop talking. He told me about himself, his job in investments, his dreams. His eyes burned with passion. "You know, Amara," his fingers clenched into a fist on the table, "I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck, counting every coin, watching people travel, live on yachts, knowing it'll never be mine." A vein pulsed on his temple. "I want to live, you understand, not just exist. I want to travel the world, sail the Mediterranean, feel free. That doesn't make me a bad person, does it?" "No," I said softly. "Wanting a better life isn't a sin." My mother didn't think so. He gave a bitter smile. "She said money was evil." She settled for less and died poor, never seeing anything beyond our slums. His voice trembled. I placed my hand over his. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." He intertwined our fingers. "I just don't want her fate." I want more. That's fair, isn't it? It is, I whispered. He smiled, warm, sincere. And you, Amara? What do you dream of? No one had ever asked me that. Mother always said, your dreams are nonsense. Be realistic. I dream of silence. Silence? He frowned. A home where no one says I'm not good enough, where I wake up without fear of doing something wrong, where I can just be myself. David studied me for a long moment. Someone made you think you're not good enough? There was steel in his tone. It doesn't matter. It does. He leaned closer. Amara, I've known you only for hours, but I see it. You're special, smart, kind, beautiful, and anyone who makes you doubt that is blind. Tears welled in my eyes. Thank you. You're very kind. I'm not kind. He smiled faintly. I'm selfish. Because I want to see you again. And again. Give me a chance, Amara. Give us a chance. I said yes. For the first time in 38 years, I felt seen, that someone actually noticed me. But there was one brief moment. When I spoke about my Uncle Joseph, his business, how he cared for the family, something flashed in David's eyes, something sharp, like a blade. Greed, calculation, I didn't want to see it then. I wanted to believe in the fairy tale so badly that I closed my eyes, and that was my first mistake. But not my last. A month passed like a single day, a month of falling in love, slowly, cautiously, like someone who's been afraid of heights all their life. And then David said, I want to meet your mother. We were sitting in his car outside my house. His hand rested on my knee, warm, steady. But inside, everything tightened into a cold knot. Are you sure? He frowned. Of course. Amara, we've been together a month. I want to know where you come from. It matters to me. If only he knew what he was asking. David, my mother, she's different. She can be sharp, critical. I can handle that. He smiled softly. I promise. He didn't understand. My mother was a predator. Every man in my life eventually became her prey. By the end of the evening, they were always looking at her, not me. All right, tomorrow, but please, don't judge me by her. He kissed my temple. I'm in love with you, Amara. Not your mother. In love. It was the first time he said it. My heart thundered in my chest. Really? Really? Do you believe me? I wanted so badly to believe. Yes. But even as I said it, a chill crept down my spine. The next evening, my hands were trembling as I cooked. Mother moved around the kitchen in her silk robe. My Amara is finally bringing a man home, she purred. So he must be special, huh? Special sounded like an insult. Mom, please, just be nice. She laughed, a low, throaty laugh. Darling, I'm always nice. Though I'm surprised, a month is almost a record for you. Remember Emmanuel? He lasted 2 weeks. Because you told him I was too serious for a normal man. I was only trying to help. Men don't like women who think too much. They want lightness. They want you, I wanted to say. But I stayed silent. The doorbell rang. David brought roses for my mother and orchids for me. He remembered. But when we walked in and he saw Rose in a tight emerald dress, hair down, his eyes widened. He was stunned. Everyone always was. So you're David. She extended her hand. I'm Rose, the mother of this wonderful girl. Now I see where Amara gets her beauty. His voice was husky. Rose laughed. That laugh she saved for men. Oh, call me just Rose. Mrs. Sounds so old. She lifted the roses to her face, looking at him from under her lashes. You have good taste in flowers. I stood beside my orchids, feeling invisible. It had begun. Again, dinner was worse. Rose sat across from David, I was to the side. And all evening he looked at her. Not constantly, not obviously, but I noticed every glance. You know, David, she leaned forward, my Amara has always been so serious. Even as a child, I worried she'd never learn how to have fun. Mom? She's smart, of course, but men want more than a smart woman. A meaningful glance at David. They want a woman who knows how to enjoy life. At her age, well, you understand. At 38, one must be wiser, more flexible. I'm ready, David interrupted, looking at me. I'm ready for everything that comes with Amara. My heart fluttered. He was defending me. But why did his hand twitch when Mother touched his wrist? Why did his eyes drift back to her again? David left late. Mother hugged him. Long, too long. Come again. You're always welcome here. When he kissed me goodbye, the kiss felt distant. Your mother is amazing, he said, getting into his car. She looks so young. Is she really 56? A chill ran down my spine. Yes, really. He drove off. I stood there, staring at the red taillights. Mother wrapped her arm around my shoulders. Good man. Handsome, ambitious. You're lucky, darling, very lucky. It sounded like a warning. 10 minutes later, I went to get some water and glanced out the window. David's car was still there in the shadows. He hadn't left. Or had he come back? A minute later, the headlights turned on. The car rolled away slowly. I lay down without undressing. In my head, my mother's voice echoed, "You're lucky." But why did it feel like I just lost something I could never get back? After that dinner, something changed. David started coming over more often. I'd come home and see his car, smell his cologne, find 2 glasses in the sink. Mom, was David here? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. She turned around, her face blooming into an innocent smile. Too wide, too sweet. He dropped by for tea, darling, she said casually, stirring her spoon. Her eyes slid over me with a mocking gleam. We're discussing your birthday surprise. But my birthday's in 6 months. I gripped my bag so tightly my fingers went white. A good surprise takes time. She shrugged. It sounded reasonable. But inside, everything tightened again. We were walking along the riverfront when David asked, Your uncle's a serious businessman. The company's worth millions? His fingers squeezed my hand a little harder. There was something desperate in his eyes. Why are you asking? My voice came out softer than I wanted. He blinked too quickly. Just curious. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I want to know more about your family. But his grip tightened, almost painfully. David, are you okay? With money, I mean. He let go suddenly, stepping back. His face went pale. Why are you asking? His tone turned defensive. You're tense. A long pause. His jaw tightened, fists clenched. I have debts, he finally said through his teeth. Old ones. Sometimes it just gets heavy. If you need help, no, he shouted so loudly I flinched. Seeing the fear on my face, he softened, took my shoulders, looked me in the eyes. No, Amara. I'll handle it myself. Just give me time. He pulled me into a tight embrace, but his heart was racing, frantic. One day, I came home early. By the window, I heard my mother's voice on the phone. Yes, he's perfect, Rose laughed, her tone predatory. Young, handsome, ambitious. Tired of being poor, wants more. A pause. No, she doesn't suspect a thing. Her voice turned cold, contemptuous. My naive Amara only sees what she wants to see. At her age, women cling to any hope, even a fake one. The world spun. I grabbed the windowsill to steady myself. I still have it, you know? Her voice dropped to a purr. 56 isn't a sentence. And this one, the way he looks at me, I ran. That night, David forgot his phone. I found it, the screen still glowing. A message from an unknown number. You need more time. Or find the money yourself. My people won't wait. My blood froze. In the drafts, an unsent message to me. Amara, you're special. The most real thing in my life. I didn't mean to. It's all so complicated. I can't. I'm sorry. In the morning, David showed up, exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, unshaven. Sorry. Forgot this yesterday, he muttered. I held his phone tightly in my hand. David, if you're in trouble... My voice trembled. You can tell me. I want to help. He froze. His eyes widened. What trouble? His tone was wary. I just feel something's wrong. You're tense, and those visits to my mother. He grabbed my hands, squeezing hard, too hard. Leaned closer, his eyes full of desperate conviction. Amara, we're planning your surprise. Your mother's helping, that's all. You have to trust me. His eyes looked honest, pleading, but his fingers left bruises. Do you trust me? A whisper, his lips trembling. Do I? Yes, I whispered, and the word sounded like a lie. He kissed my forehead, a desperate kiss, and left. I stood by the window. He got into the car, dialed something on his phone, then froze, read, and suddenly slammed his fists against the steering wheel. Once, twice, 3 times. His face twisted, jaw clenched, mouth open in a silent scream. He dropped his head onto his hands. His shoulders shook, and I understood something was very, very wrong, and I was at the center of it. But I couldn't leave, because I was in love. And love makes us blind. The next morning, the phone rang. Uncle Joseph. His voice was tense. Amara, come immediately. In his office, he stood by the window, shoulders slumped. Uncle, what's wrong? He turned. His face looked exhausted. I ran a background check on your David. Every word was heavy. He has serious debts. Dangerous people. The room blurred around me. Maybe he just... I grabbed the back of a chair for balance. Amara! He put his hands on my shoulders, looked straight into my eyes. He asked for my blessing yesterday. He's going to propose tonight. Propose. It should have felt like joy. So why did I feel only fear? I love you like a daughter. His voice trembled, and I feel something's wrong. Your mother is a predator. You grew up where love was used as a weapon. You can't see manipulation when it's right in front of you. Tears burned my eyes. He took out a folder. I'm transferring the company to you, not to your mother. You've earned it. My breath caught. But Mom, your mother gets money for doing nothing. I'm tired of watching her destroy everything, including you. Pain flickered in his eyes. But don't tell anyone yet. That evening, I came home in the rain. David was standing by the porch with orchids drenched to the bone. David? I couldn't wait. His voice was high, strained. Amara, I have to... right now. From inside the house, a man's laughter. David flinched as if struck. His head jerked toward the window. He swallowed hard. Shall we go inside? No. Here. He grabbed my hand, desperate. I have to say it now, or I'll... He dropped to one knee, right into a puddle. His hands were trembling. Amara, I know we've only known each other 4 months, but... Laughter again. His and my mother's. David's face went pale. His jaw tightened. Marry me, he blurted out, pulling a box from his pocket with shaking fingers. Please, say yes. I'm begging you. I looked at him, at the desperation in his eyes. I heard my uncle's voice. Something's wrong. My mother's. She clings to any hope. I saw the message. My people won't wait. Everything screamed, run. But the fear of being alone was stronger. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He exhaled, shuddering, slipped the ring onto my finger. It was too big. I had to clench my fist to keep it from falling. I'll make you happy, he murmured, pressing his forehead to mine. But his voice sounded like an apology. He kissed me quickly and ran to his car. I have to go. Urgent business. I stood there, watching him drive away. I just agreed to marry him, so why did I feel so empty inside? The house smelled of my mother's perfume and men's cologne, the same cologne David wore. Mom? In the living room, darling. She was sitting alone, in her robe with a glass of wine, 2 glasses on the table. Where is he? Her eyebrows rose innocently. Who, dear? I heard a man's voice. Oh, the TV. I was watching a movie. But the scent of cologne hung in the air, fresh, heavy. She saw the ring. Her eyes lit up with triumph, fury, something predatory. Oh, he proposed? She gasped too cheerfully. My David is such a romantic. My David. She hugged me. Congratulations, darling. You'll finally be happy. At your age, that's real luck. She pulled back, met my eyes. Real luck. Don't waste it. It sounded like a threat. I went upstairs and lay down fully dressed. The ring felt cold and foreign on my finger. Outside, the rain poured, warning me, but I didn't listen. After the engagement, David changed. He became cold, distant. When I called, no answer. When I texted, short replies hours later. When I suggested meeting, always busy. David, we barely see each other, I said one day over coffee, my voice trembling. We just got engaged. Isn't it supposed to be the opposite? He stared into his cup, eyes downcast, his fingers tapped nervously against the table. Sorry, he muttered. It's just a lot of work lately. Or do you regret it? The words escaped before I could stop them. The proposal? His head jerked up. Panic, guilt, flashed in his eyes. What? No! He grabbed my hand, squeezing it tight. It's a complicated time. Please be patient. His palm was damp, cold. His eyes darted around, unable to settle. With my mother, it was different. I'd come home to find them on the terrace, drinking wine, laughing, talking about the wedding. My wedding. The moment I approached, they'd fall silent, move apart. What were you talking about? I asked, forcing a smile. Decorations, darling. Mother waved a hand casually. David wants everything to be perfect. He's so thoughtful. Her hand rested on his shoulder, just for a second. He flinched. His cheeks flushed. Maybe I could be involved too. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. It is my wedding. Of course, dear. You're just so busy. We didn't want to bother you. Right, David? He nodded without looking up. Right. But under the table, his fists were clenched. I felt like a guest at my own celebration. One day I stopped by a cafe near the office and saw them, David and Rose, in the back corner. Close, too close. She leaned in, whispering something. Her hand on his wrist, fingers sliding higher. He listened, nodding, his face tense. My heart sank. Mother looked up, saw me. Her face flickered for a moment. Then the smile, Amara! Darling! David turned abruptly, went pale, pulled back so fast he nearly knocked over his chair. What are you two doing here? My voice sounded foreign, distant. Discussing your surprise, Mother chirped, wrapping an arm around me. You're going to love it. David jumped up, avoiding my eyes. I have to go. Meeting. He kissed my forehead quickly, formally, and almost ran out. That evening, David forgot his jacket. A note fell from the pocket. My mother's handwriting. Tonight at 8. Usual place. Don't be late. Our usual place. They met regularly. In another pocket. A crumpled piece of paper. I can't do this anymore. It's wrong. But I have no choice. Forgive me, Amara. I sank to the floor, clutching both notes. He's sorry. He writes apologies he can't send. But why does he keep doing it? Why keep seeing her? Why not just tell me the truth? Outside, the night fell. I sat there, holding the 2 notes. One from my mother, arranging a meeting, the other from my fiancé, begging for forgiveness. I was at the center of a game whose rules I didn't know, a game I had already lost. I just didn't know it yet. The next morning, Uncle Joseph called again. Come over, I have a plan. In his office, he was waiting. A folder on the desk, his face hard and determined. I want the truth, he said, opening the file. And you need to know it too. He spread the documents out in front of me. David Mensa, debts exceeding $100,000, creditors, dangerous people, threats, pressure. His finger slid down the page. He's been looking for quick money for the last 6 months. Desperately. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. But... Uncle raised his hand to stop me, his voice softer now. But I also checked the security footage from that conference, where you 2 met. He pulled out a photograph. David was in the hotel lobby, an hour before I fell. He was standing there, looking at someone. He was watching you, Amara, Uncle said quietly, before you even bumped into him, before he met Rose. There was interest in his eyes, real interest. My heart tightened, hope and pain tangled together. So, he knew about me beforehand? Maybe. Or maybe it was coincidence. Uncle shrugged. I don't know. But I want to find out, and I have a plan. He sat down, clasping his hands on the desk, his gaze sharp and focused. I'll tell both you and your mother that I'm transferring the company, separately, to each of you. A pause. Then we'll see how you both react. We'll see what matters more, you or the money. A chill ran through me. But that's cruel. I whispered. Cruel is living blind, he said firmly. Cruel is marrying a man who's using you. I'm giving you a chance to learn the truth before it's too late. He took my hand. Amara, do you agree? Or do you want to keep your eyes closed? I looked down at our intertwined fingers. Did I really want the truth? Or did I prefer the comfort of a beautiful lie? I agree. I breathed at last. My voice didn't sound like mine. I want to know. He nodded. Then we start. Today. I came home after dark. My hands trembled as I turned the key. The living room light was on. Mother sat on the couch, her face radiant, triumphant. Amara, darling. She jumped up, grabbed my hands. You won't believe it. Her eyes shone with feverish excitement. Your Uncle Joseph called me today, invited me to his office. She laughed, high, almost hysterical. He's made his decision. He's giving the company to me. The air caught in my throat. To you? Yes. She spun around the room, arms outstretched. Finally, he's recognized that I deserve it. She stopped, staring straight at me. That I've always been better. Better than me. Mom, everything will change now, she went on, not listening. She sat down again, poured herself more wine. Now I can provide for my family. She took a sip, her smile widening. Future family. Future family? What family are you talking about? I asked slowly. She looked at me over the rim of her glass. Fire danced in her eyes, sly, triumphant. The one I'm going to build, darling. A woman my age has every right to happiness, doesn't she? The room began to spin. You want to get married again? Why not? She shrugged. Now I'll have money, power, options. Men love successful women. Young men. She said young in a way that made my skin crawl. Mom, is there someone? I whispered. Her lips curved slowly, cat-like. Maybe. Or maybe there will be soon. She came closer, brushed my cheek with her fingers. Don't worry, darling. I won't abandon you. You'll always be my daughter, even when I'm happy. She went upstairs, humming to herself. I stood in the living room, realizing Uncle was right. She'd already made her choice, already built her plans. And in those plans, there was a young man, my young man. The phone buzzed. A message from Uncle, "Your mother knows." Now wait, watch what happens next. I sat down on the couch where she'd just been. The cushion was still warm, and it smelled of her perfume and men's cologne. The game had begun, and I was terrified to learn how it would end. The following days passed in a haze. I watched, I listened, collected shards of truth. One day I came home early on purpose. His car was parked outside. I went around through the garden, my heart thundering in my chest. They were on the terrace, Mother in a light dress, hair loose. David sitting across from her, leaning forward. Between them, wine, 2 glasses. I hid behind a tree. When she finds out. Mother's voice was soft, almost tender. But by then it'll be too late, won't it? He was silent, his shoulders tense. David. She leaned closer, her hand resting on his knee. You understand this is the only way? For both of us. For both of us. I don't know if I can, he forced out, his voice full of pain. Rose, she's a good person. She doesn't deserve this. A good person? Her laugh was sharp. Darling, the world has no place for good people. Only the strong survive. Do you want to survive? A long, agonizing pause. My debts. I know about your debts, she interrupted, her hand sliding higher. I'll help. When I get the company, I'll help. We'll both get what we want. He stood abruptly, ran his hands through his hair. And if He stopped, turned to her, his voice breaking. What if I've started to feel something real? For Amara. I didn't plan it, but when she looks at me, I start to think maybe. Mother froze. Her glass hung midair. Then remember your creditors. Her voice turned to steel. Remember what they'll do. Remember why you're here. His shoulders slumped. They're not sentimental, David. She softened again, and we can't afford sentiment either. It's too late to back out now. She walked up to him, placed her hands on his shoulders. We're almost there. Just a little longer, the wedding, and then everything will change. And Amara, his voice cracked. She stood before him, cupping his face in her hands. She'll survive. She always does. A smile. And we'll be happy. Isn't that what you want? Freedom, money, a life without fear, a long look, a slow nod. Yes, I want that. Then stick to the plan. 1 more week until the wedding. Can you do it? I can. But his voice trembled. I couldn't watch any longer. I ran to my car through the blur of tears. They were conspiring, but he said he'd started to feel something real. For me? Was Mother blackmailing him? Or were they partners? What plan? What would happen at the wedding? I came home late. On the table, a note in David's handwriting. I'm sorry. I had no choice. But know this. When I said you were special, that was true. The only truth. I crushed it in my hand. Truth? What truth? That he's using me? or that he loves me. The words kept spinning in my head. When she finds out, you'll get your share. She'll survive. I've started to feel something real. Truth and lies had tangled so tightly, I couldn't tell them apart. But one thing I knew. The wedding was in a week, and something was going to happen. Something they were preparing for. Something that would destroy me, and I didn't know how to stop it. Because part of me still hoped that I was wrong, that the note was the truth, that he loved me. The week before the wedding passed in a nightmare haze. The house had turned into chaos, and my mother ruled it all with the energy of a general before a decisive battle. I was a ghost at my own wedding. One day, she came home carrying huge boxes. She opened one with a tenderness that made my stomach twist. A white dress, a luxurious wedding gown with lace and a long train. "Mom, that's a wedding dress," I managed to whisper, breath catching. "What?" "No, darling, just white. Very elegant." She laughed, too loudly, too falsely. "Can a mother wear white?" She held the dress up to herself, looked in the mirror and smiled. The smile of a woman seeing her future. "Just in case," she murmured. "You never know what might happen." David avoided me desperately, but one day we ran into each other outside the house, and in his eyes there was such sorrow, such pain, that my heart clenched. "David," I whispered, reaching for him, begging for just one honest moment. He stepped back, as if my touch could burn him. There was so much despair in that movement. I grabbed his sleeve and held on. "Please, wait. What's happening? Why are you avoiding me?" He stopped, his back still to me. His shoulders shook like he was holding back sobs. "Amara," he choked out, his voice breaking. "If you found out something terrible about me, something that would change everything, would you forgive me?" "What am I supposed to forgive?" I whispered, gripping his sleeve tighter. "Tell me the truth." A long, torturous silence. "It doesn't matter," he breathed, pulling free and ran to his car. In the rearview mirror, I saw his face twist with tears. 3 days before the wedding, there was a note slipped under my door, written in trembling, unfamiliar handwriting. "Don't go to the church. It's a trap. Run. Save yourself before it's too late." I called my uncle, my voice shaking so hard I could barely speak. I found a note. "Someone's warning me. Someone's trying to help." "Then you have an ally," he said calmly, and in that calm there was strength. "Amara, are you ready to know the whole truth, no matter how painful?" Tears streamed down my face. I realized I was tired. Tired of fear. Tired of not knowing. "Yes," I said. "I'm ready. Let it all come out tomorrow, even if it kills me. Remember," his voice softened, "whatever happens, you're stronger than you think. You'll get through this." The night before the wedding, I lay in the dark, thinking that tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. But instead, I felt it coming. A catastrophe, a massive dark wave I couldn't stop. Through the wall, I heard my mother talking on the phone, her voice triumphant. "Tomorrow, everything changes. I've waited so long for this moment. So long." I walked to the window and saw David's car parked outside our house. 5 minutes later, he stepped out, walking slowly, shoulders slumped as if carrying a crushing weight. He sat in the car, dropped his head onto the steering wheel. Even from the window, I could see his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. My fiancé was crying the night before our wedding, and I didn't know whether they were tears of shame or the tears of a man who finally understood he'd gone too far, and there was no way back. I closed my eyes, knowing that by morning everything would end. The truth would surface, and my life would never be the same again. I thought I was ready, but no one can ever be ready for the kind of pain that was waiting for me. The morning began with that strange, weightless moment when I woke up and for a second forgot where I was and what day it was. Then everything came crashing down at once. Today was my wedding day. I stood up, walked to the mirror, and stared at my reflection, trying to find even the faintest spark of joy, the kind a bride should feel on her wedding morning. But all I saw was fear. There was a knock, and Mother entered without waiting for an answer, already dressed, perfectly made up, her face wearing a smile I couldn't read. "Well, darling," she said, her voice strangely bright, almost triumphant, "ready for the most important day of your life?" She stepped closer, adjusting a strand of my hair. That's when I smelled it. Cologne. Familiar. Masculine. David's. "Mom," my voice trembled, "if there's something you need to tell me, say it now. Before it's too late." She looked at me for a long moment and something flickered in her eyes. Pity? Triumph? Before the smile returned. "Of course, dear," she whispered, leaning close to my ear. "I just want to say that life is full of surprises, and sometimes things don't go the way we planned." She straightened, kissed my forehead with cold lips, and left, leaving me frozen in place. The church was full. People smiled, whispered, waiting for the ceremony that was supposed to mark the happiest day of my life. I stood alone in the bride's room, dressed in white, a dress that suddenly felt like a shroud, staring at my reflection and forcing myself to breathe evenly. The door burst open. Mother entered. Beneath a light robe, I saw white. That same wedding gown, the lavish one. "Mom, what?" My heart began to pound painfully. She slowly removed the robe and the dress glowed in the light. More beautiful, more expensive than mine. "Darling," she said softly, almost kindly, though her eyes burned with triumph. "I have to tell you something. Right now, before the ceremony starts." She stepped closer, holding a bouquet, my bridal bouquet, in her hands. "You see, sometimes life takes turns no one expects," she went on, adjusting a veil over her own head, "and today is one of those days." My breath caught. The world began to spin. "What are you doing?" I managed to choke out. "What I should have done long ago," she replied simply, as if discussing the weather. "Kwame was wrong about the company. He gave it to me. And David," she smiled, that empty smile that never reached her eyes. "David realized who the real woman of this house is." She walked toward the door, and I stood there, unable to move, unable to believe what I was seeing. "Mom, no, please don't do this," I whispered, tears streaming down my face, blurring everything into a smear of color. But she was already opening the door, and then I heard it. The music. Mendelssohn's Wedding March. I ran after her, but she was already walking down the aisle between rows of guests rising to their feet, turning, whispering in stunned confusion. At the altar stood David. When he saw Rose walking toward him in a wedding dress, his face turned white as chalk. But he didn't move. I stopped in the doorway, clutching the frame with trembling hands, and watched as my mother reached my fiancé. Rose stood beside him, then turned toward me, smiling the smile of a victor. "He's my husband," she said clearly, loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Find yourself another." A wave of gasps rippled through the church. Guests rose, whispering, staring in disbelief. David looked at me, and in his eyes I saw... what? Shame? Regret? Then his lips curved into a smile. He laughed, coldly, hollowly, and that laughter was worse than any words, because there was nothing human in it. "I'm sorry, Amara," he said between laughs, his voice sounding distant, distorted. "But your mother's right. It's just business, you understand. In life, you go with the better offer." The world collapsed. I stood there in my wedding dress, watching my mother and my fiancé together at the altar, both laughing at how easily they'd fooled me. Guests were shouting, protesting, but their voices sounded far away, muffled, as if through water. And then the massive church doors slammed open. Uncle Joseph strode in. "Stop this madness!" His voice boomed so powerfully that everyone froze and turned. He walked down the aisle, his face carved from stone. "There will be no wedding," he said when he reached the altar, his gaze full of disgust as it burned into Rose and David. "Not for either of you." But I didn't stay to listen. I couldn't. The pain was so total, so consuming, that it felt like my body would split apart. I turned and ran, out of the church, through the shouts and whispers, ran in my white dress that snagged and tore, slowing me down. But I didn't stop. Tears blinded me. My breath came in ragged gasps. I just kept running, away from it all. My mother had stolen my wedding. My fiancé had betrayed me in front of everyone, and I was left alone, in a shattered world where everything I'd ever believed in had been a lie. I don't remember how I got to Uncle Joseph's house. All I remember is running. Running until my legs stopped obeying me, until my breath turned into broken sobs, until my white dress was covered in the dust and grime of the streets. When I knocked on his door, he opened it instantly, as if he'd been waiting for me. And when he saw my face, streaked with tears and smeared makeup, he didn't ask a single question. He simply opened his arms. I collapsed into them and cried. Truly cried, in a way I never had before. With my whole body, with my whole soul, pouring out a pain that felt bottomless. "I know. I saw everything," he whispered, his hand gently stroking my back. His voice was filled with such tenderness that I cried even harder. "I saw it all, and I'm so sorry you had to go through this." He led me to the couch, wrapped a blanket around me. I sat there, hugging my knees, rocking back and forth, trying to stop the shaking that wouldn't end. "You passed the test, Amara," he said quietly, sitting beside me and taking my cold hands into his warm ones. "You were the only honest one in this ugly game. The only one who didn't choose money over love." I looked at him through tears, confused. "What test, Uncle? What kind of test could ever justify what they did to me?" He sighed deeply. His face looked older, heavier, as if he'd aged 10 years in a single day. "I never planned to give the company to either you or your mother," he said, looking me straight in the eyes with painful honesty. "It was a trap. Cruel, yes, but necessary. I needed you to see who they really were before you tied your life to that man." I stared at him, feeling something twist inside me, realizing that even my pain had been part of someone's plan. "The note," I whispered, remembering the warning. "The note under my door." "That was you?" He frowned, surprise flickering in his eyes. "What note?" "I didn't write any note." "Then who did?" "Someone else knew. Someone else had tried to warn me, to save me from this nightmare. Rose is fired as of today," he said firmly. "She'll never get another cent from my company. And David, he gets nothing either. There was no wedding, and there never will be. Not with you, not with your mother." He squeezed my hands tighter, forcing me to meet his gaze. "And you, Amara, you're free now. For the first time in your life, truly free. Free from manipulation, from toxic love, from people who used you." His voice softened. "And I'm promoting you. I'm giving you part of my responsibilities. You earned it, with your honesty." I sat there listening, and somewhere deep inside, through the pain, through the wreckage, something began to stir. Something faint, fragile, something that felt like hope. "But it hurts so much," I whispered, my voice breaking. "It hurts so much, I don't know how to keep living with it." "The pain will fade," he said quietly, with a certainty I wanted so badly to believe. Not right away, not quickly, but it will. And when it does, you'll be stronger than you've ever been, because now you know the truth about them and about yourself. I closed my eyes and let myself just breathe, just exist in that fragile moment. A moment of pain, but also of relief. The nightmare was over, and though what lay ahead was empty and uncertain, in that emptiness, there were no lies. A week passed in a haze. I was learning how to breathe again, in a new apartment, in a new life. Work helped me not to think about the betrayal, though at night, I still woke up crying. On Friday evening, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, David was standing there, gaunt, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. The moment he saw me, he fell to his knees. "Amara, forgive me," he began hoarsely, tears streaming down his face. "I had debts. Dangerous people were threatening me, and your mother promised to help if I married her. I agreed out of desperation. But then I got to know you, really know you, and realized I was making a terrible mistake." He crawled closer, reaching for the hem of my dress. "That note, I wrote it. I tried to warn you. But when the wedding fell apart, Rose found out there'd be no money. She threw me out. Now I have nothing." Another knock on the door. Rose. Her makeup smeared, her hair disheveled. When she saw David kneeling there, disgust flashed across her face. "So you got here first," she spat, then turned to me. "Amara, darling, I know you're angry, but you have to understand. I've lived my whole life in the shadows. When the chance finally came to take what I deserved, to take what was mine," I cut in, my voice cold. "You wanted to take my life, Mother. My fiancé, my wedding, my future." She stepped back, pain flickering across her face. "I'm your mother. I gave you life." "You gave me life." My voice grew stronger, steady. "But you never gave me love. Only pain, only humiliation disguised as care." Tears streamed down my face. "All my life you told me I wasn't good enough, that I should be grateful for scraps. You crushed me just to make yourself feel powerful. And when I finally found love, you stole my wedding day and turned it into a nightmare." I turned to David, my eyes ice cold. "And you're nothing but a coward. You chose money over dignity. You agreed to that filthy deal. And if you ever truly felt anything for me, you would have chosen me." He covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. I pointed at the door. "Get out. Both of you. Don't ever come back. I don't want to see you. I don't even want to think about you." "Amara, please," my mother started. "No." The word tore from my chest. "No more manipulation. No more control. Get out." David stood, unsteady, his eyes full of despair, and walked to the door. "I'm your mother," Rose whispered. "You gave birth to me," I said, my voice empty but calm. "But you were never my mother." When the door closed, I sank to the floor and began to sob. But these tears were different. They were tears of release, tears of someone who had finally broken free. I cried until there were no tears left. Then I stood and looked in the mirror. For the first time, I saw myself through my own eyes, and I saw a strong woman, a woman who had survived, a woman who was free,